So this past Monday, I was blessed to go to a very large convention seminar. And I wanted to report about that today. There was about 5,000 people in this big, huge room. And I was reviewing my notes and putting together some thoughts. There was a wonderful collection of presentation around the power of success. Dr. John Gray, some of you may be familiar with him. He wrote Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. He said that all his life he wanted to know and to be a seminar presenter. He's 67 years old now by his own admission. And he said that when he was 18, he stood up to give his first presentation. And he promptly fainted. And during the seminar, he actually fell on the ground to show everybody that he had fainted. But then he got up and he said, you know, this is all about perseverance. Success is about perseverance. And he went on to say that his book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, has been the most popular self-help book on the planet. It has sold over 100 million copies. And it is just now going into China, so you can only imagine how many people will buy it there. Perseverance. And he really focused upon the masculine and feminine communication. Now, we weren't going to really focus on that today, and perhaps another Sunday. But one thing that he said was so important was the quality of love. Loving one another, and, really the whole day was about love. And he said, my wife and I have been together for 30 years. And it's all about learning how masculine and feminine energies work together, and about listening and being with each other. The next presenter was a man named Phil Town, who was an investment guru. And, he was okay. But one of the most important things that he said was that when he was in Japan, he met a gentleman over there who was likened to a Warren Buffett. This man said that, I've got all these strategies about finance and so on, but he said the most important thing that I can think of in terms of being a success in this world surrounds a word in Japanese called maru. Maru means gratitude. This man has a practice that he has every day. He says, "Thank you, God," 1,000 times a day. And that is the most pivotal piece of his success, is giving thanks for every single moment, every single day of his life. And then there was a woman named Loretta LaRoche. She came on the stage and she says, I'm the smallest presenter here. And she was probably no more than 4'9" or so. And she says, I'm just about ready to turn 80 years old. But the most important thing that I want to share with you, because the world suffers from something she called global whining. I thought that was amusing. And she said, how do we get out of global whining? And then she went on to put on the recording by Dean Martin, That's Amore. 5,000 people stood up, took hands, swaying. That's amore. When the moon's in the sky like a big pizza pie, that's amore. You know, and I really recognized that we are just 2 degrees away in separation from really loving one another. There were people from all over the world, millennial generation, business owners, folks that didn't know anybody else, and I stood next to a man, an Asian man standing right next to me. He was very conservative and reserved. And at one point, after we sang That's Amore, a great presenter came out on the stage, Anthony Robbins, who's been doing that type of work for 41 years. And he said, take your brothers and sisters' hands next to you. Well, standing next to me was Brian Loss, a good friend of mine, so that wasn't hard. And this gentleman that was standing next to me was very reserved, Asian man, and I reached out to his hand, and he took my hand kind of tentatively because of perhaps cultural differences and so forth. But you know what? By the end of that day, we had no trouble holding hands. We had no trouble having a conversation. I actually hugged his wife who was next to him. And it was just this big, wonderful love fest. And you know what was so evident within that full-day seminar was something that Unity has been promoting for 125 years. 3 basic aspects of how to live one's life through giving attention and love in relationships and prosperity and in health. So, Anthony Robbins was a very interesting man, probably one of the greatest motivational speakers on the planet today. And he had 3 areas of working through patterns that we all have inside of us to move through our patterns. He said those 3 areas are state, story, and strategy. The state is the state of consciousness that we are all in. The story is what we hold on to as what we are and who we are in the world. And the third is the strategy of how we live to maintain that strategy. And I've always been, as I said last week, I'm not a motivational speaker, but I'm a spiritual educator. But what is spiritual education really? To me, it's about removing the blocks, the perceived blocks to that which is so. And Tony Robbins is a master at moving people with emotion. And that's what the whole seminar was about all day long. First, it was the importance of love. And then it was the importance of gratitude. And then it was the importance of emotionality. And getting really jazzed up about what it is that's important to us. And at one point, Tony Robbins said, write down what it is that is the most important for you in terms of creating change in your life. And I wrote down courage, faith, commitment, conviction, passion, love, and action. I tell you, I have never seen a room of people so motivated to change their lives. He uses what I call shock and awe. How many people have been to a Tony Robbins? Well, it's quite an experience. Shock and awe to get people out of what he calls their patterns around their story, their strategy, and their state of consciousness. And then he said something really interesting, and this isn't so much about Tony Robbins. It's really about the process of letting go of what we aren't. He said, you know, I don't have to do this anymore, but I love to do it because it's my mission. My mission is service. And when I heard that, I perked up. And I said, well, there's a brother. The mission is to help people move out of the patterns and to claim a life that is free. I've never seen so many people so motivated to change. At one point when Phil Town was talking about his investment strategies, there was probably 1,500 people that rushed to the front of the room to sign up for the program that he was talking about, because the air in the room was filled with an expectation of good. And then at one point, it was kind of funny. He said, now I want you to turn to the person or the people around you and pair off with them and have time with them like you're meeting them, but you don't really care. You're kind of avoiding them, and you're kind of limp-wristed, shaking their hands. And we all did that, and that felt just kind of, you know, not so great. But then he said, meet that same person now as if you didn't give it all, you would go to hell like a stuck pig. And I'm like, what? What kind of language is that? But he has this shock and awe kind of way of being, and everybody was just like, oh, okay. It was so interesting. 2 degrees away from unity with one another. 2 degrees of standing within a place of separation. And when he said that, there was young women, older women around me and everything, and we just started getting involved with each other in terms of, who are you? What's your story? Why are you here? What do you want? Hugging each other, loving each other in a way, not because of fear of burning in hell like a stuffed pig, but by the fact of the matter is that we all desired it. We all desired to be one with each other. I have never been in a situation where there was 5,000 people jumping up and down in such a state of receptivity and openness to having an actual experience. So, you know, Mr. Robbins wasn't presenting anything new. Not really. He was just going about it in a different way. And he uses emotion to help people get out of their story and their strategy. So I would like to do something with you. I would like to have an exercise with you. You game? Nope. No pigs, no hell. So let's stand up. Let's give ourselves permission. This morning I was on the back deck at 4:30 in the morning, and I was thinking about today. And my little mind was doing its little thing. And I sat there and I said to myself, I choose love. I allow love. I accept love. Because one thing that I really got out of that seminar was that people really desire to have more love in their lives. That the power of success is really about accepting more love. So I want you to turn to the person that's next to you. Hold their hands. If you don't have a partner, find someone that's in partnership and just go and be a threesome. And say to your partner, I choose love. I allow love. I accept love. Okay, now drop down into your stomach and say it from your stomach. I choose love. I allow love. I accept love. Look into that person's eyes. It may be hard for you, I don't know. Maybe it's just as natural as it can be. And say, I behold the Christ in you. I see it as you stand before me. You are God in expression right now.
You are God in expression right now.
I choose love.
I choose love.
I allow love.
I allow love.
I accept love.
I accept love.
Now just allow yourself to feel it. Keep your eyes open. If this is the only moment that there is, and it truly is, can your life be completely transformed right now through the power of love? Can you allow it? Can you really choose it? And can you really accept it? Say to the other person, I affirm this for you.
I affirm this for you.
I choose love.
I choose love.
I allow love.
I allow love.
I accept love.
I accept love.
Somebody just said, I want love. How many people really want to be more loved in their lives? Everybody in the room, right? What does that look like? I don't have all the lyrics to That's Amore. Do you guys? Let's just sing the first verse. When the moon's in the sky like a big pizza pie, that's amore, that's amore. La da 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 da. Ling-a-ling-a-ling, ding-a-ling-a-ling. Give yourself a big hand. You know, another thing I learned at this seminar was that our nervous systems are part of a lineage of nervous systems that are 2 billion years old. And our nervous systems are geared towards survival. So that when we have something like we just did that may go beyond our strategy and our story, we may feel uncomfortable. And it may rub up against our survival neurology. But what's true also is that we are wired for love. Not only procreation, but for transcendence. And that slender thread throughout humanity has always been there in terms of the transcendence aspect of life. The survival triggers may say, will I be loved? Will I be safe? Will it be okay? Especially if you're here for the first time today. I met one young lady that was here for the first time, and I hope that she feels comfortable. Truth of the matter is that emotion is energy in motion. You know, years ago I learned a lot from a doctor of Oriental medicine who said that stagnation in the body is the prime reason for disease. And that moving the energy, moving the chi, through exercise, through proper eating and emotional life is the key to staying really, really healthy. And that emotion, when I look at the word, it's just energy-motion. To be in a place of dynamic life. And you know, it's interesting, my own life expression. Sometimes sitting at home at 4:30 in the morning having a cup of tea and then just being almost barraged by brain mind, small mind, personality stuff that's basically fear-based. You ever been there? The mind just has no shame. It just blah, blah, blah. What if, what if, what if? Well, that's the 2 billion years of strategy around survival. And it's an interesting thing to be a soul in a body, is it not? It's a very complex thing, and we have a system of principles like gratitude and showing love and emotionality. And yet, my mission is to serve and to create a way of being or an atmosphere for us to go beyond that neurology. For us to turn to another person that you may not even know and grab their hands and look in their eyes and say, I choose love. I allow love. And I accept it. And it's not an easy thing to do for the brain-mind personality, because the brain-mind part of us says, well, I don't know if this is safe. I don't know if my survival is threatened. But here's the deal, is that through doing that, patterns are being released. And we are allowing a whole new strategy, a whole new story. They do studies with the neuroplasticity of the brain, and that as we give enough attention and focus, and through meditation and prayer and our devotion and everything else, that the brain, no matter how old or young we are, can be remapped into a new way of being. It's really the power of love. And I've shared this with people if you were here on that particular Sunday, but I want to bring it home one more time. My grandmother lived to be 90 years old, and she passed. The next day, she shows up to my cousin. After she passed, in his apartment, in spirit. And my cousin's name is Steve. And he said, "What are you doing here, Grandma?" She said, "I have one thing to say to you. Show love. It never fails. Love is the total understanding of everything that is." And then she disappeared. It's a real, true story. So it's all about the love. I got that this morning at 4:30. I said, if I can stay in love every moment of my life, all of this made-up imagination about strategy and story, it all just fades away. That's the discipline. That's the mindfulness. That's the cultivation. That's the effect within the neuroplasticity of the brain and the 2 billion years of evolution that you and I are blessed to be a part of, but also it's a double-edged sword a lot of the time, is it not? In terms of fear-based thinking. But to stand within the truth of being, as Charles Fillmore called it, to stand within that place and say, I choose love. I allow love. I accept love to transform my whole life, no matter what is going on the outer. That's what real metaphysics is all about. That's what real spirituality is all about, is staying within the actual experience of love. Because more and more, they're talking about that the one unified field of all of life, including the Holy Spirit that we went with during the meditation, it's all held together. The glue is love. And that when people suffer and they do strange things to each other, it's because they don't have enough love in their lives. One more interesting little story, and then I'll conclude. When I was 22 years old, I was working in a hospital in Escondido, California. And one night, I had this very lucid dream. And I was in this big room. It was like a big room that was, somewhat bigger than this. 400, 500, 600 people there, and I came up and I was literally on fire with passion for God. I felt like I was some motivational speaker. And it was all so amazingly real. And this has never happened before or since. The next day I went to work at the hospital, and this young woman comes up to me and she says, "Bruce, I had the most incredible dream about you last night." And we both looked at each other and we knew exactly what that was about. So these things are happening on other levels. You, everybody in this room, has this divine potential that we aren't always claiming because of our strategy and because of our story, because of our state of consciousness. And it's all about allowing that to be shifted through emotion, through deep feeling, through passion, through commitment, through conviction, through saying yes, that I will proceed with my spiritual path no matter what is going on in the outer. I claim it. I choose love. I allow it. And I accept it. How many people are passionate about God in this room? How many people are kind of on the fence? Well, I'm not going to have an altar call, so don't worry about it. But it's your journey. It's your path. But in closing, I just remember standing up in the front area where I was at that seminar and looking back and seeing at least 2,000 people behind me just jumping up and down, passionate about God, or, well, it wasn't, Tony doesn't use God, but his way of being is very spiritual. But they all talked about love. To shift our story and our strategy. So this week, if you choose to accept it, your homecoming work is to get a copy of That's Amore. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. But it's really about allowing yourself to be loved, to see the worth of your own being. Because the only thing that's standing in the way of our good is our thoughts. We're only 2 degrees away from unity. Only 2. So this coming week, I just invite you to what? I don't see what you're... They're holding a sign up for me. It's like, you can shut up now, is that what it's saying? I don't know. What is it, Brian? Yeah, okay. I got that. Okay. That's fine. We'll end on that. Terry Shippen, who has been a dedicated person to Unity Center of Vancouver for years and years. I used to call him the Eggman because every week he would bring fresh eggs for people, organic eggs. And he made his transition last week, I think. Some of you know him, some of you don't. lovely man. Had an accident at one point in his life, and it affected his abilities on some level, but he always showed up passionate. He always showed up willing to serve and in love. So, yeah, today's dedicated to him. God bless you, Terry. And God bless you all. Thank you.
This is when you can join in with me at the right time. I think it'll make itself pretty evident. You might slip, you know you might slide, stumble and fall by the roadside, but don't ever let nobody drag your spirit down. Don't let nobody drag your spirit down. Remember you, that's your part. Don't let nobody drag your spirit. Walk with the rich and talk with the poor. Learn from everybody, that's what life is for. But don't ever let nobody drag your spirit down. Don't let nobody drag your spirit down. Remember we're walking up to heaven. Don't let nobody turn you around. Well, some say yes and some say no. Some people wait to see which way the wind's gonna blow. But don't ever let nobody drag your spirit down. Don't let nobody drag your spirit down. Remember we're walking up to heaven. Don't let nobody turn you around. Strange to you, might preach the gospel, I believe it's true, but don't ever let nobody drag your spirit down. Don't let nobody drag your spirit down. Remember we're walking up to heaven. Don't let nobody turn you around. You might slide, stumble and fall by the roadside. Don't ever let nobody drag your spirit down. Don't let nobody drag your spirit down. Remember we're walking up to heaven. Don't let nobody turn you around. Don't let nobody drag your spirit down. Don't let nobody drag your spirit. You gotta hold your head up high. Don't let nobody drag your spirit. Don't you let nobody. Don't let nobody drag your spirit down. Remember we're walking up to heaven. Don't let nobody. Yeah. You gotta hold your head up high. Let me hear you say yeah. Say yeah. One more time, say yeah. Don't let nobody, don't let them drag your spirit down. Hey, yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Wow. Don't let nobody drag your spirit down. Thank you, Marcus Mosley.